Sometimes when a TV show has a successful couple of seasons, they get a spin-off. So let's think of the super chorus as the Better Call Saul to the chorus ensemble's Breaking Bad. First guitar, that was a fairly strong and fast chorus with the EQ parked right around the middle. Then, because I wanted to see if this is one of those chorus pedals that plays well with dirt, I brought everything up and I slammed it with a BSRI Hydrazine, which is a harmonic percolator style fuzz. I ran the bass through this as well, which helped to add a little bit of that low-end undulation. I want to start out this video by talking about the major players in the Boss chorus universe. First came the CE2 chorus ensemble. Actually, before that came the CE1, which itself was based on the chorus of the Roland JC120 Jazz Chorus Amplifier, but as far as modern style compact pedals go, let's start with 1979's second hottest release, the CE2. People loved the CE2, but Boss thought people might want it in stereo, so in 1982 they made the CE3. And it's a fine pedal, I don't care what anybody else says. Around 87, Boss realized that bass players deserve pedals too, but we're going to make them all look like this. From that colorful lineup, we get the CE2B. The B stands for bass. Or maybe brown. There's no CE4 because the number 4 in a lot of East Asian countries has some bad mojo around it, kind of like how we skip the 13th floor in the US. But 1991 brought us the CE5 chorus ensemble, and this adds high and low cut knobs plus an effect control. Really nice modern features here. And then a year later in 1992, that's when the CEB3 came out. Not the CE3B, the CEB3. I'm putting it under the CE5 because I think with the effect level knob and the EQ, it kind of feels like part of this era. There's also the CE20, which came out in 2005. It is amazing, and we need to talk about it someday that's not today. And finally, the Waza version of the CE2, which came out in 2016. But a lot of interesting stuff happened between the release of the CE3 and the CE5, besides the release of the brown CE2B down there. Boss released the DC2 Dimension C in 1985. Let's just pretend that's an original and not the Waza version. It's also not so much a chorus as it is a chorus for people who don't like chorus. That was followed up 3 years later with the DC3, aka the Space D Digital Dimension, a digital version of it because digital is the future. And finally, right between the DC3 and the CE5, we meet the star of our show, the CH-1 Super Chorus, which came out in 1989, same year as The Simpsons, and like The Simpsons, they are still being made, although some will say that the earlier ones were way better. The controls on the CH-1 are fairly standard. Actually, what inspired me to do this episode was a silly hobo pointing out that the CH-1 and the DC-3 have the same controls. That's kind of interesting, right? So we've got depth and rate plus an effect level and an EQ knob. The big question is, why does the CH-1 exist when the CE5 exists? They came out within 2 years of each other back in the day. They're both still being made. They both have similar features. Let's give them a listen and see if they sound any different. Now, I hear some things in there, mostly in the way that the chorus effect sits in the mix. Tell you what, this is not at all scientific, but let's run some white noise through these and see if that uncovers anything. We'll start with the CE5 with the high and low cut knobs all the way down, and then as I raise them up, you can see a wider range of frequencies becoming affected. Look at those waves fly. The CH-1's EQ knob controls the higher frequencies, and that phantom pitch that I'm hearing sweeping back and forth is a little bit higher, which tells me that the delay time is just a little bit shorter. So this might be more suited for wider ranged instruments or different playing styles. Maybe we can think of it as a high band chorus. But overall, the shape and the travel of that oscillation doesn't sound all that different to me. What I heard in the earlier comparison and what I think I saw/heard just now is that the CH-1 seems a little more full frequency. It actually reminds me of the TC Electronic Juno 60, which is a clone or a loving tribute to the chorus on the Roland Juno 60 synthesizer. The webpage for this pedal says it has crystal clear highs, heard that, and a unique stereo effect, variable between left and right speakers. Wow, that sounds really impressive. But according to the schematic, it's just chorus when mono, dry plus vibrato when you're using both outputs. I mean, it sounds really nice, plus we don't have to worry about the two sides canceling out. Give it a listen. And it also means that we can put a dummy plug up here and use output A as a vibrato of sorts. A car with 2 wheels missing could also technically be called a motorcycle, but at least the vibrato thing isn't advertised as a feature. To be completely honest, I've always kind of gravitated more towards the chorus ensemble pedals, but I'm having a whole lot of fun getting to know more about this guy. It's real easy to see why it has its own following. Let me put it this way. If Boss had decided back in 1989 to put out this as the next CE pedal instead of the CE5, people would have lost their minds. It would be like Ford making an electric SUV and calling it a Mustang. They did what? I also see it as having a slightly different flavor. It's unmistakable. It's out in front. The CE2 and CE2 adjacent pedals, their strength is really in how well this falls into the background. It's something someone might assume is part of your guitar's natural sound, or they might not notice there's an effect at all until you take it away, and then all of a sudden things sound dull and flat. Now, by now you may be wondering, is this thing analog or digital? This is analog. And this one's digital. Yeah, just like the CE5 and the CE-B3, the earlier ones were analog, and then at some point they switched over to a digital design. From what I've read, if the serial number comes before P1, that means it's analog. The only way to really make sure is to open it up and take a look at the board, but do we really care? Do they even sound any different? They sound pretty similar to me. I'm sure someone in the comments will insist that one is more warm and transparent and natural and watery, and the other one sounds like a broken washing machine. Cool. I think if you're looking at a pedal like the CH-1 and you have the option, get the older analog one, because pedals like this are a dying breed. Except they never really die, because pretty much everything in here can be repaired and replaced if you know how to work a soldering iron and a screwdriver. Pedals like this, yeah, good luck. Hopefully it's just a bad jack or a loose wire or something like that. And this isn't a dig on any pedal manufacturer. I would much rather Boss and Electro Harmonix and MXR still be around today turning out great new pedals than be something that only exists in nostalgia and overpriced reverb listings. It's not just old mojo in these pedals that makes me want to keep them around. At this point, I almost feel bad that I spent half of this pedals video talking about how it compares to other pedals, because this guy stands pretty tall on its own merits. In an alternate universe, there's a CH-1, 2, 3, 5, and 2 Waza, and the chorus ensemble is the other thing. But the CH-1 is a good chorus. One might even call it a super chorus. I hope that was insightful, maybe a little entertaining. I love going beyond the knobs and normal blues riffs, and I try not to be a numbers person. Look how close we are to 10,000. So please, please, please make sure you're subscribed. Tell a friend, come back for more effects goodness, and I'll catch you on the next one.